Now let's begin by telling you that tension has heightened in Edo over the leadership of the 18 local government areas of the state, as councillors have impeached the chairpersons and deputies of the Owonde, Ohyonwon and Onwa East LGAs. The impeached chairpersons were accused of alleged misappropriation of funds and dereliction of duty. During the impeachment of Kenneth Adodo, chairman of Owonde LGA, on Wednesday, violence broke out at the LGA secretariat. On the same day, councillors also impeached Aminu Okodo Kadiri, chairman of Onwa East, and Clement Ojegbudo, his deputy. On Thursday, crisis erupted in Orionmo LGA secretariat when some councillors impeached Daniel Osarieme, House leader of the legislative arm, over unruly and inappropriate actions. On December 27, 2024, Ege Ogemudia, chairperson of Ego LGA, and Frank Osawe, his deputy, were impeached. And to discuss this, we're joined by legal practitioner Monday Mawa. Mr. Mawa, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. So first, let's ask, what is the legal framework under which the local government chairman in Edo State can be suspended or impeached?
Well, the legal framework or the provisions under which the local government chairman and their deputy can be impeached under the Edo State local government law are clearly spelled out under section 19 of the local government law of Edo State. And that law, we have section 19, 1, 2, 3, and that. And the provision under that section carefully stipulate that the members of the Legislative Council must serve if they are of the opinion that the holder of the office of the local government seat has committed an act of gross misconduct. In their opinion, they have to serve him with notice of that misconduct. Now, and that must be done within 7 clear days. And after the 7 clear days, the House will now, by motion, adjourn for another 14 days, within which they look at they decide whether or not to investigate the said allegation. I mean, these are procedures. And if that is also done, and they have the opinion that the allegation that they have raised is something that needs to be investigated, the House, by motion, supported by no less than 2/3 majority of the Legislative Council, has to vote in support of it. And so, once that vote has been made and that they have all agreed by 2/3 majority that the holder of the office be investigated, this vote is for them to even investigate the allegation, not the impeachment in itself, the investigation. So we are looking at a situation of 7 days, 14 days, and if after that 14 days that they all agree by that motion supported by 2/3 majority that the allegation be investigated, then the House will now set up an independent inquiries who are independent of the both political parties, men of proven characters, to investigate the allegation.
Okay,
it is
Mr.
after
Mawa,
that step has also been complied with that they can now come and say, okay, the allegation, we have investigated the allegation, there is veracity or there are proofs that the allegations are true before they can now proceed to now go into what we now call impeachment proper.
Okay. Mr. Mara, thank you very much for that very interesting definition of the system. However, Mr. Mara, if you could please put on your video so that we can have visuals of you, because at the moment we're unable to see you. So we could, if you could do that for us, thank you. Now, Mr. Mara, let's continue with the questions. Now, let's talk about rights. Thank you very much. Now, let's talk about rights. What rights do the suspended LGA chairmen have to challenge their suspension or the impeachment that's within the legal framework of Edo State?
First and foremost, my brother, the word suspension is an aberration and a rape of our constitution. The governor of a state has no power under any laws, whether the constitution, the Edo State laws, or whatever, any other law. They have no power to suspend a local government under the dispensation. If you can recall, on the 11th of July 2024, the Supreme Court, which is the apex court, in a landmark judgment, which reached a finding that the local government has an autonomy. And the effect of that is that the autonomy that they has, which was initially recognized by the Constitution, by the provision of Section 7 of the Constitution, which was now affirmed by the Supreme Court decision of on the 24th of July 2024, is to the effect that no state government has the power to suspend, to dissolve, or set up a critical committee for the purpose of overseeing a local government within Nigeria. Now, and I'm so happy if you have been following this trend carefully, right from the time we heard about the purported suspension of the local government chairman and their deputy in Edo State, the Honorable Attorney General and Minister of the Federation, Prince Lateef Fagbemi, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, came up to criticize the decision of the Edo State government, Mr. Monday Okpebolo, that the governor has no power under any law.
Now, Mr. Mauer, I hear what you're saying regarding the lack of power of the governor to suspend the LGA chairman. But what rights do the LGA chairman have now that they have been suspended by the governor, seeing as you say that he has no rights? What could they do at this time?
Now, the right they have, don't forget, they are already in court to challenge the purported, when I don't want to use the word suspension because it's a purported suspension. What the right, the power that you do not have, you cannot exercise it. So they have the right, every right still to even to operate as elected local government of their various councils because they were elected by their people.
Okay, I think we might have a bit of a communication difficulty here. He might have frozen. Mr. Mauer, are you still there? Okay, I hear you're back now. I'm going to move on to another question. Noting first off that the chairman have been reinstated. Now, how does the suspension of impeachment of an LGA chairman affect the functioning of and also governance of a local government area? Would there be a vacuum or would there be perhaps an apparatus put in place?
Yep. Normally, if they were rightfully suspended, removed, once this local government chairman is not there by virtue of whatever, either by impeachment or whatsoever, and the deputy is also affected, the leader of the house, by law, takes over the office because there is no vacuum. There must be no vacuum in government. So, but in this instant case, since for whatever reason, they are still, to my mind, they are still in office, in their various offices. So if they have been removed legally, the leader of the council ought to have taken over and begin to preside and oversee the function of the office of the various local government chairmen in their various council. That is what is expected ordinarily.
Okay, then. Well, Mr. Monday Mauer, I want to say thank you very much for your contribution this afternoon on the news. Moving on now, the Kano State Chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, Hashimu Dungurawa, warned President Bola Tinubu to prepare for overwhelming defeat in 2027. He said going by the alleged anti-masses policies of Tinubu-led federal government, Nigerians had queued behind the party for the next general elections in 2027. He expressed optimism that the NNPP would be victorious in the 36 states of the federation, including the presidential elections. Speaking to newsmen in Kano, he recalled that from his inauguration on May 29, 2023, Tinubu had been making life hard for Nigerians with the policies. Now, also to discuss this, we are joined by political analyst Ismail Awal. Mr. Awal, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I'm going to go straight ahead and ask, how does economic hardship affect public opinion and voter turnout in the presidential elections, particularly in the context of Nigeria's 2023 election and President Tinubu's second-term prospects?
Thank you very much for having me. Actually, hardship or economic hardship generally usually affects the outcome of Nigerian election. For example, I can give you an example with the concluded 2023 election. And the number of people that come out to vote before 8 years before that time, significantly reduced because of the trust they have in the then president, and then how things become. And then in 2023 election, people refuses. I have talked to many people that said they are not going to vote because they don't have trust on the system again, because they trusted the then president that he's coming with policies that is going to make life easier for them, but they were actually very, very disappointed. And then, but those that voted in in the 2023 election, only a portion of the society that has hope that maybe things are going to be better, despite how hard they were in the previous years. But very unfortunate for us Nigerians, these 2 years are even more difficult for Nigerian masses than it was in the previous election. So definitely 2 things is going to happen. I agree with the chairman of the state chairman of the NNPP. 2 things are going to happen. Either people will come out in mass to vote out President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his unfriendly economic policies if he did not change, or if things did not become better, or people with overall decided to stay in their homes and refuses to come out and vote when it is time to vote. One of the 2 things is definitely going to happen if things continue the way they are today.
Now, would it be too soon to start asking the extent to which the economic policies being implemented during the first term of the president could affect his chances in 2027? By this, I'm asking if perhaps maybe the first 2 years or however long he's been in office might just be what was needed to set the economy straight.
Yes, that's exactly why I said if things continue the way they are now, I'm telling you, one of the 2 things I mentioned is going to happen. But if things improve and become better, it means Nigerians might have confidence on the system, because you see what is happening today is Nigerians are very, very, very optimistic people. They see hope even in the little opportunity. But now Nigerians are losing that hope. Now, what Nigerians believe is the politicians or those in power don't have their interest in mind. This is what is happening because we have seen how fuel subsidy removal causes a lot of hardship to Nigerians. And then immediately after that, we have seen how education become very, very expensive, that now a common civil servant cannot afford to send his or her child to school, not to talk of other ordinary Nigerians. And then we have seen how the president is trying so hard to implement the tax policy. And we have seen how experts are calling on the president on how that is also going to make Nigerians, or the life of Nigerians, very, very difficult. But the president is still being persistent about implementing those tax policies. Then whose interest is he protecting? Just like you said, maybe what he's doing today is a background for a better tomorrow, and we are hoping that is the case. But if things continue like this, then I don't think it's going to be easy for him to come back for the second time.
Let's take a look at youth unemployment first. Considering the high youth unemployment rate in Nigeria currently because of the situation we find ourselves, how significant could this issue be in influencing voter preference, particularly in the context of his second-term aspirations?
Yes, and before you even talk about the issue of unemployment, is the number of, or the millions of Nigerians that have become underemployed. We are talking about a minimum wage is now has changed to 70,000. That still cannot buy you a bag of rice in Nigeria. It means ordinarily a civil servant cannot take his salary. A civil servant cannot take his salary at the end of the month and go to the market and buy a bag of rice, not to talk of other expenses. So these are people that are even employed. Talk less of those that are unemployed. People if you compare the number of people that are unemployed today, the number of those that are unemployed maybe 2, 3, 4 years back, there's a little bit difference. Maybe things are even easier for those that are unemployed, because at that particular time, people that have money or people that are unsalaried can help those that are unemployed. But it's not the case anymore. Nobody is giving out his money. Even if you have money, it's not even enough for you, talk less of taking care of those that don't have jobs. And then look at also then I think this is the right time to address the issue of unemployment. You see what, especially in Kano, let me talk about Kano. If you studied electoral process in Kano, you understand that it is just unemployed youth that are being used during the case of during election, the days of election, to cause mayhem and destruction. And now, what is even more dangerous is we have more of them than before. And to add on top of that, even those that are employed that earn salary are now somehow underemployed because their salary cannot take care of their families, they cannot even take care of themselves. Talk less of helping others. So it means there is now more number for politicians that want to cause destruction to at least to get from to cause destruction during the election process. So I think it's very, very dangerous for us. One, we are going to have a serious border apathy if this continue like this. And then the number of people that the politicians can recruit from has skyrocketed. Of course, people might think at least a number of employees might collect money to vote during the election processes. And I am afraid what these guys are going to do is they are going to cause destruction and make life inhabitable, even for those that will come out to the vote in 2027.
Ishmael Awal, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon on the news with your expert opinion. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
We're now going to break. When we get back, Rivers budget presentation, APC describes Governor Fubara's appropriation bill as illegal. Details after. Welcome back. Now, following the presentation of the Rivers State 2025 Appropriation Bill before the Victor Okocha-led Rivers State House of Assembly by Governor Siminalayi Fubara and its eventual passage into law, the main opposition party in the state, the All Progressives Congress, the APC, has described the action as illegal. The Rivers State Chairman of the All Progressives Congress, Tony Okocha, noted that the presentation of the 2025 Appropriation Bill to the Victor Okocha-led House of Assembly was illegal and in violation of court rulings as well as established governance protocol. Okocha, who spoke to journalists in Port Harcourt, said the governor's actions demonstrated a blatant disregard for the rule of law and judicial pronouncements.
It is unfortunate, it is unimaginable, it is unthinkable that a governor had risen through the ranks. If for nothing else, he was a civil servant, full-blown civil servant in the Ministry of Finance. It means, of course, that over the years, he's not a toddler in the business of budget and how it is presented. 27 of the assembly members are on this side. 3 members of assembly are on this side. And between you and I, is it not an anathema that a budget of a state as prominent and as all important as Rivers State were presented to an illegal setting? Court of Appeal in their various judgments from the days of Omotosha way back in January 2024, it is clear in the judgment of Omotosha that a budget has to be presented to a legislative arm under the leadership of Martins, Right Honorable Martins Chike Amehu. I did all I could today as we speak on this matter. Each time I see the assembly members and see them still flaunting their PDP membership, I just tell myself that for once you have lost something. I'm a goal-getter, but in that case, I lost it. I challenge any person from any ward, from any LGA, because I had to set my searchlight, and I was wishing that any one of them would go and register for the party. None. Register.
Earlier, former Commissioner for Information, Rivers State, Osentam George, shared his thoughts on this.
The law is very clear, and I think there have been judgments, regarding that. So, this matter is already considered by Rivers as a settled matter. Now, the reality is that there are members of the assembly who now constitute the legal, legislative arm of the River State government. So those are the people that the governor can only legally deal with, as constituting the state legislature. In fact, there are judgments that forbid the governor from dealing with, will always be for the FCT minister to focus on his administration in Abuja and allow the governor of Rivers State to implement the developmental agenda he has set for himself, so that Rivers State can move forward. This back and forth between the minister and the governor has nothing to do with personal differences, other than the governor insisting that there has to be an end to the privatization of state resources. There has to be an end to the capture of Rivers State resources for the benefit of the FCT minister, and that all resources meant for Rivers State will henceforth be used for the development of the state and for the benefit of all. It's as simple as that. Is the governor's agenda, and he has the full support of all Rivers.
Now, Bauchi State Governor Bala Mohammed says political meaning should not be read into his absence from Governor's New Year visit to the Lagos home of President Bola Tinubu on Wednesday. On New Year's Day, governors under the umbrella of the Nigeria Governors Forum visited the president at his Bodyland Road home in Ikoyi, Lagos. No fewer than 13 governors traversing geopolitical zones were attended the meeting. But Governor Bala Mohammed, who also serves as the chairman of the opposition People's Party, or rather People's Democratic Party's Governors Forum, was notably absent from the visit. It was a move that sparked speculation, particularly given recent tensions between Mohammed and the presidency over President Tinubu's proposed tax reforms. And now we take a break. Still talking politics. The candidates of the Labour Party in the 2023 general elections, Peter Obi, has called for far-reaching measures to address the myriad of challenges affecting the country. Obi, during a press conference in the nation's capital, Abuja, called on government to effect an urgent reduction in the cost of governance, saying this will free up funds for investment into critical sectors of the economy. He says that there is a need to tackle poverty and inequality, which is destroying the fabric of the country.
It is time to confront our national problems boldly, decisively, with a sense of urgency, and I suggest as follows. Commence a visible and verifiable reduction in cost of governance to be able to allocate much needed resources to critical areas of development such as security, health, education, and poverty alleviation.
Now, a member of the Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China, the CPC, Central Committee, and Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi has been billed to visit Nigeria. As part of his yearly routine, the visits, which will commence on Sunday, the 5th of January through to January 11, 2025, will also see Yi visit 3 other African countries, such as Namibia, the Republic of the Congo, and Chad. This was revealed in a statement by the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning on Friday. The planned visits were based on invitations by the countries. This will be the 35th consecutive year that the Chinese Foreign Minister will visit Africa on the first overseas trip at the start of the year, according to Mao. And the National Union of Local Government Employees has expressed disappointment over the 6-month delay in implementing financial autonomy for the 774 local government areas, despite a Supreme Court judgment mandating the direct disbursement of their funds. The court's July 11, 2024 ruling declared the long-standing practice of state governors controlling local government funds unconstitutional and directed allocations to be paid directly to LGA accounts. But 6 months later, state governors continue to receive and control these allocations, defying the judgment. The NULGE's national president Kahim Ambali has decried the delay and called on President Bola Tinubu to urgently enforce the directive. He highlighted assurance from the president and recent developments indicating that direct allocations to LGAs would commence by the end of January. And now let's talk security matters. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has restated the resolve of the Nigerian military in continuously upholding the territorial integrity of the country. General Musa was speaking in Samaru, southern Kaduna in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, during his working visit to the newly established Samaru cantonment to aid in the fight against insecurity. Correspondent Chizoba Anyanwe has more on this as she joined his entourage and now tells us more.
The Chief of Defense Staff began his tour of duty with a courtesy call on the traditional ruler of Kagoro in Zangon Kataf local government area of Kaduna State.
To show also our commitment to ensuring that there is more peace to southern Kaduna, more peace to Kaduna, more peace to the north, more peace to Nigeria, and invariably more peace to Africa. Because we believe it is only when we have peace that we can have development.
We pray for all of you, and we believe that same will soon be normal in Nigeria, the way we are going.
Thereafter, he moved to the newly established Samaru cantonment to see the level of work done and also to speak with the troops. He further commended the General Officer commanding 3 Division for the level of peace so far achieved in the area.
To remain very professional in your conduct. Nigeria is relying on all of us to make sure Nigeria is safe and secure. And that's the task we have to do. So I'm counting on each one of you, individually and collectively, to know that all of us are Nigerians. This country is our own. The work we are doing, we're on the right path. We are defending our country, which we have signed for. And we must do it well. We must respect the human rights of everybody. We are only after the bad guys.
The GOC 3 Division and Commander Operation Safe Haven, Major General Abdusalam Abubakar, is optimistic that with additional combat enablers on the ground, more successes will be recorded.
We also have more MRAPs coming. And the one he missed out, which he has also promised, is the issue of motorcycles. They are all very conversant with our terrain. Our terrain here, some of these places, you cannot enter them with gun trucks. So motorcycles are very, very key. Also, we'll be getting night vision goggles to enhance our night fighting capability. So we have no reason, we have no excuse not to deliver. Is that clear? Yes, sir!
The senator representing Kaduna South, Sunday Marshall, is asking for more civil-military relations.
Let's have a civil-military relationship, like he has been preaching everywhere. We want peace in the entire senatorial district, and by extension the state and the country. So we appeal to you to work with us, because we know and understand the environment. We respect what you're doing, you also respect what we're doing, and together we can make this place a safer place.
Now, with the visit of the Chief of Defense Staff here in Kaduna State, one would expect that the morale of these troops will be heightened, which will translate into better security in Nigeria. In Kaduna State, for News Central, Chizoba Anyanwe.
The Nigeria Police Force has pledged to increase its operational presence and enhance inter-agency collaborations as part of its commitment to supporting the resettlement of displaced communities in Borno State. The State Commissioner for Police, Mohammed Yusufu, made this known during a briefing on its annual crime data report for 2024, where the police recorded a total of 721 crime cases with plans for the year 2025. News Central's Umaru Kirawa completes the report.
It's another successful day for officers and men of the Borno State Police Command. The Police Commissioner, Mohammed Yusufu, is out to brief the press on the command's successes in the year 2024.
The command has reported incidences of felonious crime, misdemeanor, and other simple offenses, totaling 367. Of this total number, 721 suspects were arrested, 257 charged to court, while 110 are still under investigation.
The report by the Commissioner indicated a continued focus on criminal activities such as armed robbery, kidnapping, and human trafficking, which have affected both urban and rural communities.
Our projection is in line with the IGP vision to reduce crime to the barest minimum nationwide, at least by 30%. Now, the command intends to sustain robust, proactive policing by ensuring that Maiduguri Metropolis maintain its stature as one of the safest and most secured state capital.
The security situation in Borno has seen improvement, with fewer incidents of insurgent attacks in the latter half of 2024. The Nigerian police force stressed that more work needs to be done to maintain security, especially in areas receiving displaced persons.
The Nigerian police force is the lead agency when it comes to internal security. So our projection for 2025 is how do we key in to this grand Borno restoration. To key into that one, we have to align with the transitional justice system by enhancing police presence in such communities where displaced persons have returned, and ensure that there is community participation in terms of our policing priority, as well as protection and promotion of human rights.
The police has urged the public to assist in the provision of timely information for response to aid in its crime-fighting efforts, particularly as many communities transition from displacement back to normalcy. In Maiduguri for News Central, Umaru Kirawa.
Welcome back. Now, a Zambian police officer reportedly under the influence of alcohol released 13 detainees to celebrate the new year, sparking a manhunt for the escaped suspects. Inspector Titus Fury allegedly took cell keys from Constable Sarah Bender at Leonard Chilo Police Station in Lusaka on New Year's Eve, freeing individuals held for crimes including assault, robbery, and burglary. Police spokesperson Uria Hamunga, described the incident, stating Inspector Fury acted under intoxication when he forcibly seized cell keys and unlocked both the male and female cells and instructed the suspects to leave, stating they were free to cross over into the new year. A U.S. Army veteran who killed 14 people by ramming a truck into a crowd on New Year's Day. Revelers in New Orleans had pledged allegiance to Islamic State and appeared to have made recordings in which he condemned music, drugs, and alcohol. Shamsuddin Jabbar, a 42-year-old Texan native who once served in Afghanistan, acted alone in an attack, according to FBI on Thursday, reversing an earlier assessment that he may have had accomplices. He was killed in a shootout with police after the rampage, which also injured dozens of people and has been labeled by the FBI as an act of terrorism. And for more on this, I'm joined by our international correspondent, Afia Hagen. Afia, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you for joining us. Now, let's start by asking what the latest is on the attack in New Orleans.
Oh yes, the Army veteran from Texas, it's been deemed that he was acting alone. Now, initially, the FBI had thought that he had accomplices, and they had detained 4 people and released them. This was just later on New Year's Day, just hours after the attack took place. But now the FBI have said that he acted alone, but he was 100% inspired by ISIS. Now, the White House has said that there's no evidence that there's any other foreign body involved, any foreign direction or involvement. And that may tell us that Jabbar was inspired by ISIS, but not necessarily directed by ISIS to commit this attack. Now, they also said that Jabbar had planted 2 explosives in ice coolers in the French Quarter, that's around Bourbon Street, where the attack took place. And in his home, chemicals were found that were typically used to make bombs. And it's thought that these improvised explosive devices, IEDs, were designed to go off as the emergency emergency services were coming to the scene of Bourbon Street, so basically to cause more terror and more destruction. They were supposed to go off remotely, but for some reason that didn't happen.
And what do we know about the victims of the attack?
Yeah, so 14 people were killed in that attack and dozens others injured and remain in hospital. And a few of those have been named. There's Tiger Beck, who was a former Princeton football player and had been working as a junior trader in New York City. There was Matthew Tenodorio, a 25-year-old from Louisiana who worked in video production. There was Reggie Hunter, a Baton Rouge native who leaves behind an 11-year-old and a 1-year-old. There's Kareem Badawi, who'd studied at the University of Alabama. Hubert Guthrow, only 21 years old. And there's also Nicole Perez, a 27-year-old mother with a 5-year-old son, and Billy DeMaio, who was a 25-year-old New York-based account executive. And these people, not just from Louisiana, people there from New York City, it just shows you how much New Orleans is a party town, but also a destination town for things like celebrations on New Year's Eve. You also have the Sugar Bowl, which took place yesterday. It was delayed by a day. You've got the Super Bowl, which will be taking place there in February. You've got Mardi Gras, which takes place in March as well. It really is a destination town for food, travel, and revelry.
And what are the sentiments of the people of New Orleans regarding the authorities? Do they believe that the authorities might have dropped the ball, seeing as they weren't protected?
Well, there is a little bit of a sense of anger and wonder how this could happen. Now, a private security firm released a report in 2019 that said that Bourbon Street, where this attack took place, could be vulnerable to this kind of terrorist attack, whether it was via vehicle or via a gun. And actually, Bourbon Street was being retrofitted at the time to have bollards put in place. This was in time for the Super Bowl to prevent people from driving down the street. And they also have these metal barriers that can go up and down on the streets to prevent people from driving down them when the streets are full of pedestrians. But those barriers were not up at the time. And I think there was one part where one of the barriers was up, but the attacker was able to drive down the pavement and continue his rampage. Had the bollards been in place, perhaps that would not have happened. So now the City Council is going through a period of having to look at the retrofitting, wondering why it took so long, but also making sure that these items are in place for the events coming up, for the Super Bowl, like I said, which takes place next month, and for Mardi Gras, which takes place in March. These two huge events, destination events for New Orleans this year, that will have to be secure to make sure that people feel safe enough to attend.
Well, thank you very much, Afia, and we will be coming to you for more updates. U.S. authorities say they do not know yet why a suspect blew up a Tesla Cybertruck outside the Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas, an incident that investigators are probing as a potential act of terror. The motivation at this point is unknown, according to FBI Special Agent Spencer Evans, who spoke to reporters, adding that it was not lost on agents that the blast took place in front of a hotel linked to U.S. President-elect Donald Trump, with Tesla owned by prominent Trump backer Elon Musk.
Absolutely. Like I said, we're running down investigative leads around the world. No information that we're aware of right now that connects this individual to any terrorist organization around the world. But that's obviously the thrust of the investigation, is ruling out that there's any sort of terrorism nexus, and then again, getting at what the ideology is. Sheriff's pointed out, we feel that the subject has been identified, although not conclusively, waiting for DNA evidence on that front. However, we do feel like we have the subject identified, and at this time there is no information about additional subjects that the FBI is tracking on.
We believe the question is, was the gunshot self-inflicted? And we do believe it was, since he was the only person in the vehicle, and it occurred immediately prior to the vehicle blowing up. His body is burnt beyond recognition, and I do still not have confirmation 100% that that is the individual that was inside of our vehicle. And so, as I'm calling it now, the subject or person of interest, I will not come back until I have the confirmation through DNA or medical records that this is indeed, in fact, the subject inside of the vehicle.
The Nigerian naira depreciated to 1,554 naira 36 kobo per dollar on the first trading day of 2025, marking a 0.36% decline from the 2024 closing rate of 1,536 naira 82 kobo per dollar, according to NFEM rates data from the Central Bank of Nigeria. While some authorized dealers quoted the dollar at 1,555 naira per dollar, others reported a lower rate of 1,520 naira per dollar by Thursday's close. In the parallel market, the naira strengthened slightly to 1,666 naira per dollar from Tuesday's 1,670 naira per dollar. The naira experienced a significant 40%, or rather 40.9% depreciation in 2024 compared to the 2023 official rate of 907 naira 11 kobo per dollar. The decline follows the CBN's foreign exchange reforms, including December's introduction of the electronic FX matching system, which temporarily stabilized the currency. And now on taxation. Tullow Oil announced that the International Chamber of Commerce, the ICC, has ruled the branch profits remittance tax does not apply to its operations in Ghana's Deepwater, Tano, and West Cape 3 Points field. This ruling exempts Tullow from a $320 million BPRT assessment and eliminates future liabilities under the tax. The BPRT targets profits remitted to foreign businesses to their parent companies abroad. Despite this victory, the West African-focused oil company continues discussions with the Ghanaian government to address two remaining tax claims. The U.S. dollar remains dominant as 2025 begins, fueled by the Federal Reserve's cautious approach to rate cuts and uncertainty surrounding President-elect Donald Trump's economic policies. Meanwhile, the euro and British pound languish near multi-month lows. European markets are bracing for a modest opening after a strong week from Asian equities, driven by South Korean shares. Traders will watch if the Stoxx 600 extends its steady start to 2025 after a 6% gain last year. Diverging interest rate paths between Europe and the US, alongside political instability in France and Germany, have pressured the euro, which hits levels not seen since November 2022. Traders expect 4 ECB rate cuts this year, while the Fed may implement fewer. Sterling has fared better, declining just 1.7% against the dollar in 2024, but remains near a 9-month low. Tariff concerns under the new U.S. administration further weighs on sentiments across Europe markets. And now sports. For sports this afternoon, the Badminton Federation of Nigeria has unveiled plans to organize multiple national tournaments in 2025, focusing on enhancing the sport's development and creating more competitive opportunities for players. According to the president of the federation, Francis Aubert, these tournaments aim to strengthen athletes' skills and prepare them for international competitions. The federation also celebrated Nigeria's success in badminton, particularly the achievement of para-badminton athlete Eniola Bolaji, who won a bronze medal at the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games. This accomplishment highlights Nigeria's growing prominence in the sport and underscores the talent of its athletes. With an eye on the Los Angeles 2028 Olympic Games, the federation aims to qualify more players while continuing to invest in athletes and grassroots developments to ensure sustained growth and competitiveness. Now, Zambian head coach Wedson Nyirinda has unveiled his 30-member provisional squad for the CAF CHAN 2024 tournament with a mix of seasoned and upcoming stars. The CHAN team will enter residential camp over the weekend as part of preparations for the tournament, which will run from February 1st to 28th in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. Zambia is among 18 teams that have qualified for the CHAN but will await the final draw to determine their opponents and tournament base. Nyarenda's charges will intensify preparations after sealing their ticket to the CHAN following the withdrawal of Mozambique in the final qualifying round. Prior to the withdrawal by Mozambique, the Zambian team had been conducting weekly preparatory camps for the local players. And that's all the news this hour. But before we go, let's take another look at some of the major stories. Councillors have impeached suspended local government area chairman in Edo State, and NNPP has said economic hardship will cost President Tinubu 2027 re-election. We also told you that drunk Zambian policeman has freed 13 suspects to celebrate the new year. Now, do remember you can always watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, and of course on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. My name is Mazino Appeal.